How's it going, everybody? We're back with some more how to beat videos for three more characters. Just like the last one, we're going to talk about three characters and some of the more prominent moves. Today's up, obviously, we have Vira, Lowain, and Eustace, so let's get right into it. Starting off with Vira. So, the main things I want to talk about is her reversals. First, we'll talk about, real quick, she does have a meterless reversal. So, like I mentioned in the defensive guide, having a meterless reversal is pretty good because they are quite fast versus heavy version. So her active frames on her meterless one is 9 versus 11, and then her ultimate one is 8. So which means is her meterless and her ultimate you can't jab um, on wake up to her, so she can use her meterless and her ultimate to beat that. But the main things I want to talk about is her other stuff. Is her super, her level 1, right? Quite annoying. It gives her a really nice. It's invincible, of course, and it gives you a really nice combo on hit. Um, and then I want to talk about is her reversal, her meterless reversal when she's in that mode. But we'll talk about the super itself. So the super on whiff is negative 32, which is essentially the equivalent of a sweep in this game, right? Sweeps for 35, so it's a little bit faster than a sweep on recovery, which means it is whiff punishable, but it is difficult. It's not the easy thing to do to whiff punish it. So when she does whiff this move, right, you kind of want to be in decent range to punish it. Like it is punishable, but you have to be quite fast. And honestly, if sometimes you can't reach her, you can't reach her. It's just how the super is. But if you are close enough for like your heavy attack or something, it is possible to punish it. But you have to definitely press it on the very first moment she does the super. Um, on block though, it is -9. So what does that mean? -9 is about I want to say universally. I'm not exactly sure, but at least most of your 5Hs in the game, your close heavy attacks are 9 frames, which means this is punishable to a heavy attack. But it is obviously a 1 frame punish, so it's a little bit difficult at times. So if you want to play it safe, you could do a medium. Most close mediums in the game are about 6. So a little bit easier. About 3 frames versus 1 frame in order to punish. But it is possible to get a very big boy punish by pressing 5H. It's not the hardest thing in the world. If you practice a little bit, you'll get used to it. But yeah, so that's her level 1. On whiff, it is 32, so it is punishable, but you gotta be quick. And then on block, it is -9. So you can either punish it with a heavy attack if you're good enough. If you want to keep it simple, you could just do your stand medium attack. It'd be easy enough. So next, I want to talk about her meterless reversal out of the super. So as you can see, it's -6, but you see the push back on it is so far. There is no light attack in the game that reaches that far, and obviously you're not close enough to get a close medium attack, so it is essentially safe. Um, it is a safe reversal she can do. So how do I beat it? Right? How do I beat this invincible attack? So first things first is there is a gap in between the move, which means you can spot dodge it, which will avoid that humongous pushback. Oop. I should have recorded it better, but it's okay. So if you make the first hit whiff, or you make the second hit whiff, excuse me, it becomes -7. So going back to the numbers game, it's not punishable by a heavy attack, but it is punishable by a stand medium attack. Most, if not all, close medium attacks are 6 frames, which means you can punish it if you spot dodge the second hit. The other thing you could do, if you have the resources for it, because it has a gap, you can do a reversal out of it. It is not not invincible the entire time. It's only invincible on the startup, which means you can do a reversal, or you can do reversal super as well. And she can't do anything about it either. So once she commits to that reversal, you can do a reversal back. Or if you want a cleaner punish, you could spot dodge and do close medium attack. Um, but yeah, so her stuff is punishable. It's just a little bit more annoying than other characters in order to punish her reversals. So that's like her big, plus factor of a character is that besides her having pretty solid buttons, her reversals are really good. But they are punishable. You just have to know how to punish them. But yeah, quite annoying. But just practice a little bit, you'll get used to it. All right. Next up, we have Eustace. So I want to go over two moves because there's a lot of nuances about both moves, and that is his grenade and his run. So first, we'll talk about his grenade, right? If I remember how to do it. It's down, right? Okay, it's down. I almost forgot. So his nade, he has obviously a light, a medium, a heavy, and an ultimate nade. So we'll talk about all four. So first things first, we'll talk about the light grenade. Let me set up to do a block string for this. So the light grenade, what is it on block? It is -4, right? -4, which means you can't do anything out of it. He's way too negative, but it does push you. It does push you back quite a bit. But because it is -4, it means you basically have the green light to do something afterwards. The other thing is it does have a gap to it, which makes it even more negative. If you can react to him doing it, you actually could punish him. It is a call out, obviously. It's obvious, like you could get used to reacting to it because you can look at his hand. He does have an indicator of what nade he throws based on the color. So the light grenade has like this. There are different shapes basically. So the medium is blue. The light one is like a yellow. Obviously, the heavy is like the red. So he has different colors depending on which one he does, and he kind of gives it away early on. So you can react to it. It's if you're good enough. It's quite tricky, but you can react to it. But besides the reaction part of it, it is -4, which means it's not punishable, but he is incredibly negative. Like there's not much you can do afterwards. He really can't challenge you on anything you do. So you can easily walk up just a little bit and press a button afterwards. Actually, I'll record a situation. Like he can't really do anything afterwards. It's just not his turn like at all. So yeah, -4. It's you can react to it or you could just block it and just press a button afterwards. The other one is the medium one. This one is the more common version, or the more common nade that people throw. So it's -4 into +33, which is a lot. But the big thing is there is a gap, right? So you see, I'm able to press a button before that happens. And because I can press a button, which means I can press a medium attack. Which means, once again, and this time I'm even closer, he actually can't challenge you. After he tosses that nade, there's a gap, and he can't really challenge you. Especially for the fact that he's even closer this time. Even light attacks. Even if I press, Belial does have exceptional buttons, but even in most cases, like even if I do it late, it'll still be a light attack just because it is -4. -4 is a lot in this game. So if you block the second hit, he's plus. You can't really do much about it. But if you can see it, you can also spot dodging is not as advised to do it on this one. Like you're better off just blocking it. If you can see which nade he throws, you can respond accordingly. The other one is his heavy one. That is +2. So this one is plus. You can't really challenge this one at all. He just kind of he locks you in. Like it's pretty much a guarantee. Like you can't even really mash. You could there is a gap where you could do a reversal. So you do have that option. But the main thing you have to remember is that this move doesn't it's not a time bomb, right? He has to trigger this with a weapon. So it's not a bomb where it goes off over time. He has to trigger it, and if he triggers it, he becomes more plus, right? So that's the main thing to take away from it. It is plus initially, but if you're able to walk away, you can just play the game normally. It's not gonna go off like while you're throwing a move, right? It's not a ticking time bomb. The other thing is he has is the ultimate. The problem with this one is it is plus 116, right? But the startup, like the medium one, is it's -5. So you can interrupt him actually. You can interrupt him. It is like the second you see the nade to come out, just press your light attack. Like it's gonna win. But yeah, those are the answers for the nades. The nades are actually pretty straightforward if you can recognize them ahead of time. So we'll go over it real quick again. The light nade, it is -4. You could either roll past it or you could just press something afterwards. The medium one, same thing. It's -4 on the first hit, which means you could press a button afterwards. If you block the second hit, he's plus a lot, so don't challenge him. The heavy one is guaranteed, but it's not a ticking time bomb. He has to trigger it afterwards with a gunshot. And the ult one is -5. So if you recognize it, you can just press a button, and he doesn't get any free pressure from it. So they're all the nades are pretty straightforward on how to deal with. If you just recognize which one he's throwing. Next one I want to talk about is his run, right? His run attack. So obviously, if he does this as a nothing, it's you just gotta react to it. It is -40, so you have like a lot of time to just kind of react, and him if he does literally nothing, right? So the nothing, just react to it. But that's the boring part. The cool part we want to talk about is the follow-ups, right? So what is the light one? The light one is -3. So if you block it, it's your turn. -3, and he's right next to you, so you can essentially press a button. The other one's a little more boring per se. Like the medium one is a slide, but on block, it is a. It's quite negative. It's a -9, which means it's heavy punishable if you want a 1-frame punish. And then obviously the heavy one is his kind of reversal. If you haven't seen it before, which is -27 if I remember correctly. Will they do the move? Yeah, -27. So most of the time, people are not really doing these on block. But the one that people like to do on block, besides the light one, is this one. It is the backward shot. So the backward shot. The backward shot is +5. And like if you try to press a button, obviously he's way far back. You really can't like press a button. You can't even anti-air him really. You can't even catch him fast enough to anti-air. So how do I deal with this move? You can't really reversal it either. So what do I do? If you recognize his move, obviously he's negative. He's +3, but he's really far. He doesn't really get much if you get like a walk back. Like look how much distance I created here just by walking back. Even if I don't walk back, I'm still quite a bit away. Like no attack is reaching me from this range. So it's not the end of the world if you block it. But if you want to punish, you can actually react by jumping. And this is a full punish. You get a full punish on him if you jump over the gunshots. Fun fact, if you play Belial, you can also counter. by just pressing the parry button for him for a little bit of an easier punish. This one's like super. If you play the law, by the way, this is like really easy to do. You shouldn't be getting hit by that move ever. But for people that don't have that, for other characters, you can just jump forward and get a free punish. So also, real quick, I mentioned the slash, his medium starter. The medium starter is -7, so if he does medium into nothing, it's punishable by medium attacks. So if he does medium nothing, same thing with the heavy one. Heavy one is the same thing. It's also -7. So yeah, medium and the light starters in between the run are both -7, easily punishable. But for the run, we'll go over it real quick. The run, if he does nothing, from the light version, you just react to it. If he does the medium version, it's -7. If he does a light attack, like the solar flare, it's -3, which means it's your turn back. The medium version is -9, which is the slide. The heavy one is -27, which is the reversal, which is very easy to punish. And then the jump back shot one, right? It's +3, but it's not the end of the world. You can just create space. And if you want to get a free punish, you know he's going to do it. You can just jump forward to punish. So that's it for Eustace. All right, next up, the main event. Talking about Lowain. We're talking about his supers in particular. Because especially for lower level players, this is incredibly annoying to deal with. So how does this move work? Obviously, it's at level 1. He has like a set timer. I have it on training mode, so I have infinite time. But he has a bunch of different follow-ups. So his run is really fast. He could chase you down very quickly. He has super armor for the entire duration of the super. And he has a bunch of attacks from it, right? So he has the light attack, which is an overhead. Oh, excuse me, not overhead. This is just the medium attack. He has a anti-air attack, which is really big. He has this overhead, which is... Oops. Sorry. He has his overhead, which is 19 frames. He has a low, which is 23 frames. And then he has the ender, which gets him out of the super. So how do I deal with this move? Let's talk about the numbers real quick, right? So obviously jumping around and trying to hit him is not the answer. So we got to look at what can he open you up with. So obviously you don't have a throw, but he has this overhead and he has the low options. But if we look at the first total active frames, one is 19, which is the overhead. 19 frames is essentially not reactable in a fighting game. But he has his low, and the low is 23 frames, which is, it's still quite fast, but you can react to 23 frames. It's possible. It's not, it's tricky, but it's possible. And the big thing with the low is you can easily tell when he's about to do it, because he puts his knees together. They both, the twins kind of put their knees together. So he has a big dead giveaway, and none of the animations look like that at all. None of the other animations have him, like, put his knees close. So as soon as you see the knees coming in close, you just react to low, to be honest. It's kind of like your best option. So how do I deal with this super? Essentially, the answer is you block high. You just stay standing, because the overhead is unreactable, so you just want to stay standing against that. And then once you see the low happen, you then you could spot dodge, or you could just block. Yeah, it's definitely something you should practice it. Unlike me, I don't practice it that often, but if you're fighting Lowain quite a bit, trust me, you want to be stand blocking and then just react to the slide when it happens. It's your best chance, to be honest. The other thing I want to talk about is his level 2. So obviously this level 2 is a lot more popular back in the original game. Most Lowain players, especially if they're decent, will just keep doing the level 1. But this does exist. So how do I deal with this move? So first thing first, talk about the 4 moves she has. Yggdrasil. She has the rocks, close and far. She has an orb that is chargeable. If you charge it all the way, it goes really slow. She has an unblockable lava attack. and she has a lightning storm. Those are her 4 attacks, right? So we'll talk about some weird scenarios. If she ends up doing the super, and like if Lowain does a super up close to you, um, this is basically like incredibly annoying if you have low life. It's like almost impossible to avoid chip damage. But the main stuff still applies. You can't jump over her, by the way. She's too tall. But yeah, it's pretty much unavoidable that you're gonna get chipped a little bit. So you have to kind of approach accordingly. If you have like no life and you get cornered, it's kind of GG's. I'm not gonna lie. But in most scenarios, when you are kind of like this, where you're like, when you're more mid screen, most of the time it happens mid screen, or it happens when they get put into the corner, the Lowain player. So how do I deal with this move? So the rocks, you kind of have to just block. They're not reactable. They start up at 18 frames, so there's no real way to react to them. But we'll talk about the interesting stuff. So we'll talk about the flame first. Flame, you just spot dodge. There's no real trick to it. You can spot dodge it. That's all you got to do. The other thing is her orb. Her orb has 2 scenarios. Actually, let's talk about the other one first before I talk about the orb. We'll talk about the lightning too. The lightning also you can react to by spot dodging. This was a little bit tighter. You can also outrun it if you're fast enough. I'll show you real quick. You can outrun it. It's kind of tricky to do. I'm not gonna lie. But she has a set space where she throws the lightning. But running from it when you're already in it is like almost impossible, so I wouldn't recommend it. I would just recommend just spot dodging it. If you practice it just a little bit, it's pretty easy to spot dodge. It's just like a set time where she does it. Oops. And then same thing with the fire. The fire, it's very easy to spot dodge. As soon as you see it come out, you just spot dodge it pretty easily. But the orb, so we'll talk about the orb real quick. And then I said like from the rocks, you have to just kind of block it. But the orb and the lightning, or the fine lightning you just react to. The orb is a little bit trickier. If you are far, I would recommend you to actually... Oops. I would recommend you to actually super jump it. Because in every scenario where they either do rock, or they do fire, or lightning... If you see, obviously you see lightning, you can spot dodge. If you see fire, you can spot dodge it. And the rock situation, so if I always do this into this, which is a pretty common thing to do. So if in a situation where the rocks are coming out or the orbs coming out, you want to just run up and just super jump, to be honest. If you do it right, you should be able to dodge it. Even with the oops. Even with the close one, if you space it right, if you jump as soon as it happens, you should be able to just avoid both sides of the rocks. But if you are close, you're actually better off just spot dodging it. But if you're far, you don't want to spot dodge it because she has enough time to recover and she can stack the moves and you get hit by either rock or flame or whatever. So the orb, if you're far, you want to run up and super jump so you can kind of get back into the middle. If you're close, you can spot dodge it though. And then fire, lightning, you spot dodge. And then the rock, you just block. That's like the main core counters to all 4 moves. But yeah, both moves, it really relies on your reactions. It's like, having the reactions, knowing what to do for what situation is like the way to beat both of these supers. They're not easy, and there's some situations that are kind of going to put you in checkmate, but those are the options you have. Yeah, let me know what characters you want me to see, what characters you want to see next, and I'll catch you in the next one.
この番組はご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。